Hello, hello, hello. I am Trina Boyd. I'm back with another episode of Coffee and Business Talk. Hello to my YouTube family. Hello to everyone listening to this podcast. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about 3 reasons your grant application is getting denied, right? So we're going to talk about that because we want you to get approvals. I want you to get approvals for your business and funding. So before I get into that, I do want to let you know a little bit about me if this is your first time watching. I am the founder of Women in Power, and Women in Power help women in business secure their first grant or second grant or whatever, however many grants that you need. I help you to secure that, potentially secure that grant. And then I also help women scale, and help them with business credit and government contracting. So that's a little bit about me and what I do. I also want to invite you out to my book launch party. You do not have to be local. You can actually be in wherever you're at. You can be wherever you're at and you can join virtually for the book launch. But I just wanted to personally invite you out to that. And then we're going to get into 3 reasons of why your grant application is getting denied. Okay. So the first reason your grant application is get denied is because you may be applying for a grant for the first time, right? And you have never ever written a grant. So if you have never ever written a grant and you apply for a grant application, what are the chances of you getting approved for that particular grant? So just think about if you're riding a bike for the first time. When you ride a bike for the first time, we basically fall, right? But yeah, so that's the one of the main reasons people get denied for their grant is because they have never written a grant and they don't have a mentor. They have never learned how to write the grant. They have never learned how to word that grant. They don't know what it takes, how your grant application is supposed to look. So if this is your first time writing a grant and you get denied, don't get discouraged. Just learn how you can get approved for the grant. Okay. So that's the first reason that you're getting denied. If you are even applying for grants, that's why. Because I hear people say, "Oh, I applied for a Hello Alice grant and I got denied, and I keep getting denied." But they've never invested into a coach. They never invested into a webinar or anything to learn how to write that grant properly or how to even know or have a third eye on that application. One of the things God has, and I'm not bragging, but one of the things that God has gifted me with is to really be able to look at something or I can look at a grant application and say, oh, this is what they're actually looking for. Because one of the things I do, I see what they're constantly asking you on those questions, right? I see if they're constantly asking you a certain thing, oh, this is what they're looking for. And I'm able to help you word that grant application a certain way to allow you to have an advantage over your other competitors. You have to know what they're looking for. All right. So that's the first reason. The second reason your grant application is getting denied is because you don't have a website. I'm looking over to my notes, y'all. You don't have a website. You have to have a website. Like I always express, there's 2 things that I express that you have to have. One of them is a website, because if someone is a grant funder, they are not going to come visit. Well, I'll take that back. I'm going to say they're not going to come visit you, especially if they're in Washington or if they're in a different state. But I have seen and I have heard on boards where the decision maker will actually go to their location just to make sure they're legitimate. But that doesn't normally happen. That's like 1% of the time that they're going to come to your location. But a lot of times your location is your website. Your location is your domain. My domain is womenempowerinc.com. That is my location for any grant funder who is looking to say, hey, I want to give Women in Power this grant. How do I find out more information about this company and what they do? What are their initiatives? How do they help women? So they go to my website and see everything that I do to help women, right? So this is why you have to have a website. Other than that, they don't know off of just what you tell them, right? You want to tell them your mission. You want to tell them all these things, your mission statement and all these things, but how can they visually see what you're doing? How can they visually see like the pictures and stuff? That's why it's important when you're doing, if you are nonprofit or for profit, you take pictures of what you're doing in the community. You take pictures of the different things that you're doing. So that way you put them on your website, right? Put them on your website. And now once they're on your website and the grant funders go to your website to see exactly what you're doing, then they'll know, oh, this is a legitimate company. They're actually doing work in the community, or they're actually coaching women, or whatever it is they're doing. Now they have your website, right? And I also show you, and I have a webinar out right now. And that webinar shows you how to get a website in literally, like, you can make a website less than 30 minutes. And that's just for a temporary website until you can actually get a customized, depending on what you're doing. I specialize in helping women with service based. So one of the things I help women do, in addition to getting their first grant, I also help women with reaching six figures in their business, really replacing their 9-to-5 income. Some women don't even make six figures in their 9-to-5, but I specialize in helping women be able to replace their 9-to-5 with their business income. I have, for example, I have helped a young lady. She was actually a an employee of mine, and she wanted to learn to do what I do, which is a service-based business. So I showed her step by step. In her first year, she net $150,000. Basically, she just texted me out of the blue and said, I'm so appreciative of what you have taught me. I net this six. She's probably never even made six figures before in her life. But I'm able to help women. If you are service-based, I'm able to help you reach six figures within that first year. Okay. So, but you got to have a website. Like, one of the things I also help in the website portion, because of course you're going to have a website for the grant funder, right? But I also help you get leads on that website that's automated. It's like a whole automated funnel that I use to help you get those leads as a service-based business. That's just something that God has graced me and gifted me with. And I'm just grateful to be able to share that with, especially my members of Women Empowered. They get this information every single month. But you got to have a website, and not just any website. I want you to be able to get those leads. I want you to be able to sell to those leads, and that's what I teach inside of my membership. So I'll post my membership link for you all if you all are interested in becoming a member of Women Empower. So that way, if you're looking to really scale your business up, then I would highly suggest become a member, because you do have access to me every single month. We have private community for you where you can reach out to me. You have my number. All right. So another reason your grant application is getting denied is that you are probably trying to use the money for the wrong things. So I've seen a grant application where they were saying it was options. They had like 7 to 10 different options, right? But one of the options, it's like they was trying to trip you up. Like, is this a trick question? Like, who would actually check this? But they was trying to do that so they can see where your mind was at. So that's why they did that. So I was like, okay, but the list was, what are you going to use the money for? So that's what the question was. What are you going to use the money for? Because a lot of times they'll tell you what you got to use it on, but then you end up, because that's how your heart come out when they say, oh, for debt. No, you cannot use a grant to pay off debt. But they had that option on there. I was like, oh, they trying to trip somebody up. This is why you need to have a mentor. This is why you need to have an actual class or something that will teach you these things. Like, you cannot use money to a grant to pay off debt, y'all. You cannot do that. So you want to make sure you use the money for what they're saying that you got to use it for. So you're trying to use it for the wrong things. And so one of the things I teach you is how to, word it to where you are actually wording it to what they want you to use it for. Some grants, like it's a grant out there right now, right, that I won't even apply for because I don't need the money for that. So they have a grant out through, like, locally. I talk about local grants and where the money is. And I think it's from anywhere from, I think it's like maybe $5,000 to $250,000. But they only want you to use the money for equipment. I don't need equipment. I don't need, I mean, like I may need shirts, like that's something that we get, every year, like shirts or something like, but I don't need any equipment. I don't need any computers or anything. So it's like, why even, try to get money that I don't need? So that's an example of making sure you know what you will be using the money for. Um, but yeah, they even, I think one of that level was for that particular grant was for a car. So they did have, you can get a vehicle, and somebody I know someone right now who actually used the money for a car. Y'all, they got a car. She owned a restaurant, and she got a car for through that grant. Yeah, and she came and spoke to the women about, how she won and how she was very persistent, which I love that about her. But she got the money for a car. So with that being said, just making sure you know what you're using the money for, and not debt. Definitely X out debt. Don't ever say I'm using it to pay off a credit card. You may be in debt. You may have credit card debt, but you don't want to tell them this is what you're going to use it for. Maybe you can use it for something else. Maybe you can use it for, you know, equipment that will help you pay off your debt. So basically, you need equipment. If you need equipment to run your business, right? You may need equipment to run your business. You get that equipment, use the equipment to get revenue, and then once you get that revenue, then pay off the debt. So that's how you can use it that way. But don't just get the grant and just pay off your debt. Another thing I want to say on how like trying to tell them what you're going to use the money for is, I want to also say that you want to and I've seen this happen, and I was very impressed with this young lady when she did this. But she basically did a hard, and this is what y'all going up against. So I just want to make sure y'all can do the same thing. She did a budget, an entire budget of what she was going to. Of course, they didn't ask her for that. If you're a nonprofit, they normally ask you for a budget. But for profit, they just ask you, what are you going to use the money for? So she told them, and she did, like, broke it down, 5,000 for this, 2,000 for this, whatever. I was like, oh my God. So I knew when she did a one-on-one with me, it wasn't because she needed help with grant writing, because she was a great writer. But it was more so she needed, I think she just needed someone to tell her that is not her writing. And just speaking, because speaking is very powerful. That's one thing God is showing me. Just speaking, even if it's negative or positive, speaking a thing out of your mouth, it will manifest itself. Just because the Bible says that death and life lies in the power of your tongue. Because just speaking these things, it will happen. Good things too, bad things too. So I think I just needed to tell her that it wasn't her writing, because it wasn't. Because she was like really, really focused on getting a grant, and she did win a grant after right after our session that we had. The power of speaking, God allowed her to win that grant. So yeah, that's amazing. But those are the 3 reasons you're probably getting denied. And I just wanted to come on and tell you. But I do also want to invite you out to my book lunch. The book is actually going to be able to help you win grants for your business step by step. Also, I will have a workbook in there for you as well, because I definitely believe in hands-on. But make sure you register. You do have to register to get the link. If you're attending virtually, we will have an in-person as well. But thank you all for watching, and I will talk with you all soon.